5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition.
You're listening to the GHT Overland Podcast. Welcome. Thank you for joining us on the GHT Overland Podcast.
And if you're new to the GHT Overland Podcast, you have landed on one heck of an episode. If you're a returning listener, hats off to you. We are truly humbled by your support and kind words.
10 years of overland experience traveling the world.
That would be awesome.
Freaking awesome.
Think of the depth of experience and confidence that you would have, not to mention the memories. Those quiet prairies, the wind wrestling over the trees and the mountains.
Each place that you go is all different.
True. From seasons to experiences to the people, to the food, to the drinks.
Variety.
Oh, yeah. Well said, Lisa. Well said.
Variety of life.
Yep. And a couple new topics on this one, too. Car insurance for the overlander traveling the globe, and thoughts on traveling with a drone and crossing borders. A lot of fun stuff. Now, before we launch the official intro, we'd like to ask that you muster up all your good thoughts, vibes, prayers, well wishes for Leigh and Steph. 2 days ago, on their first day back on the road after visiting family in Australia, their Land Rover Defender, the swivel ball housing snapped.
It looks awful.
Like my heart broke as soon as I saw that picture. I woke up and that was like the first thing I saw because I was going to send him a message.
Yeah, Bear looks pretty sad.
Oh, so it was like 6 hours for the tow truck, over 6 hours for the tow truck to get to them. And the task of getting it fixed or getting it replaced is literally in process as we're talking.
Good luck to you guys.
I think they could use all the well thoughts and vibes or whatever kind of thing you're into would be really good.
With that, let's launch the official episode with Leigh and Steph of Grizzly and Bear.
Welcome and thank you for joining us on the GHT Overland Podcast. This is where you get the greatest interviews and insights from overland travelers around the globe, learning from their stories and experiences as we interview overlanders from places like Africa, the Americas, Portugal, and today, Perth, Australia. You will learn the basics to the advanced in overlanding, so buckle up and get ready for a new adventure. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lisa. Today's featured guests are Leigh and Steph of Grizzly and Bear. Leigh is from Australia, while Steph is from France. They have been traveling the world, rock climbing, exploring, learning, and sharing their experiences for nearly 10 years. From experiencing new food to meeting new friends around the world, Leigh and Steph maintain a very healthy lifestyle while living the life of a full-time overlander, creating a really awesome YouTube channel documenting their overlanding trips and experiences.
And their Land Rover Defender is the sweetest ride ever, a 2010 130 with a removable camper body. We will let Leigh give us better details on that in a bit. So without further ado, welcome to the podcast, Steph and Leigh. We are super stoked to have you join us today.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. We want to thank you both for having us on board. We're really excited to be here and chat with you guys today.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. We are very appreciative. So if you would, give us a little glimpse into your backgrounds prior to overlanding the world, along with any other blanks that we may have missed in your intro.
Okay, well, I'll kick it off. Steph's just pointed at me, so I guess it means me first. Well, myself, I've been traveling, I guess, since a very young age. I'm a plumber by trade. During my apprenticeship, my mother encouraged myself and my younger brother to travel from a very, very young age. So I think I went first to New Zealand when I was 17 and went backpacking for a month around New Zealand. As soon as I could afford flights, that was me gone. I've always been into my 4x4s, as a lot of Australians are. And yeah, it just sort of kicked off from there with Mum pushing us to travel. I was doing a lot of traveling, backpacking, trips overseas, trips over eastern coast of Australia. And then, when I met Stephanie, we continued together.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and myself, so I'm Steph and I'm from Paris. I lived in Paris most of my life. When I was 23, I decided to go on a trip to Thailand with a backpack. Backpack was very heavy, too heavy. But that was my first trip with a girlfriend. And there I've met Leigh. And that was it. Well, after Thailand, I saved a bit more of money, and then I went to Australia, and then I got into rock climbing with Leigh and traveling and all the fun stuff.
Tell us what inspired overland travel for you guys.
Well, I guess I can answer that one as well, because I think Stephanie was definitely roped into the lifestyle after she met me. Actually, can I back up 2 seconds? Because I did want to elaborate a little bit more on Steph's background. When I met her, she said she had an overweight suitcase in Thailand. That's the least of it. She was a very Parisian girl. She had long nails, beautiful dresses, lovely nails. She worked in a fancy high-end cashmere store on the Champs-Élysées in Paris. So she was very far from the Stephanie that we know today. Yeah, when she met me, if I remember correctly, I may have had no shoes, no T-shirt. I'd lost my bag in Thailand, traveling with a buddy of mine.
No deodorant.
You didn't have to mention that.
That's the one that she remembers.
I was a little bit rougher. So, yeah, that was just backing up for Steph. I wanted to elaborate there. But so when I met Steph, I thought, this girl, she's not in my league. She's a little bit above me. I don't think she'll even talk to me. I was lucky enough that she did. And, the rest is history. So I guess when we did decide to give this relationship a go, I mean, it was tough. I was still living in Western Australia at the time. Steph was in France still. I was already, I would say, a very inspired camper and overlander due to growing up in the country in Western Australia. My mum and dad had a small farm. I've only ever driven 4x4s. I mean, since I could drive, and even growing up with my family, we went on multiple camping trips every year. For me, it was just a natural progression, I guess, to start doing longer and longer trips. When we met, Stephanie sort of, I guess, adapted because she sort of had to if she wanted to hang out with me.
That's what love can do.
Very good. So do you spend a lot of time planning your overland trips, and would you recommend spending either more or less time to our listeners in planning their trips?
I don't think we plan so much.
No.
Just as we go, pretty much. Of course, there is a lot of things involved regard to visa and things you must know if you enter a country. And I would say that's least part of the job.
Yeah, I do. Steph's in charge of the video editing. She does the all that side of things. I do the research, I guess, and plan ahead. But I would say, in answer to your question, it's very individual specific, I would say, and depending on necessity. I mean, maybe if I was traveling within my own country in Australia, overlanding still, which we have done for a couple of years, the planning required is a lot less. Obviously, we don't need to worry about visas. I don't need to research political situations in countries we're going to travel to, where we are at the moment in Central Asia. We do have to research that sort of stuff as much as we like not to plan, and we definitely do not make date-specific, time-specific plans, because I think it takes a lot of fun away from the experience. You need to be completely flexible, ready to change your plans at any time. We've had so much experience and more, I guess, cultural experiences in the countries we travel by leaving things open. If we meet a local or we meet somebody and they say, "What are you doing next week? Do you want to come and join us?" We don't want to ever have to say, "No, we can't," because we have to be here, we have to be there. But yeah, to a certain extent, you need to plan, you need to look ahead. If we need visas, they need to be organized, as well as the person. Some people, I think they need it. Us, we don't. We like to be flexible.
Some people are overlanding with a deadline, and they're going to be traveling for maybe a year or two.
If we're doing this for another 10 years, it doesn't matter to us. We have no plan to settle down, no plan to stop full-time overlanding. So definitely we can be a lot more flexible than people with a shorter time frame.
Yeah, that's really good. So maybe plan in greater detail the higher level stuff, so at the 30,000 foot level, depending on your situation, maybe not plan the day-to-day move so you've got that flexibility to be able to stop and go hang out with somebody or do something with a local family that invites you to do something like we've seen on your YouTube channel. That's just fantastic.
And, you know, we do get a lot of comments, and that's what we really try to put across in the YouTube video. We want people to travel with us, but also the videos not to be about us so much, but about the people that we're meeting, because it really is the difference, you know, to traveling through a country, eating the food, seeing the sights, but you just feel like you're passing through. We don't want to just pass through. We want to become
immersed.
Yeah,
what do you say?
Immersed is
immersed.
in the culture, in the tradition, in the, you know, make true friends in that short time that we're in another country.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Okay, so can you give us some details on your Defender, and if you don't mind, maybe a little bit of detail on the camper as well?
Yeah, of course.
So you do the car and I'll do the camper.
Alrighty, that's my domain and Steph's domain. So the car, like you did mention earlier, is a Land Rover Defender 2010, the TD4 model, 2.4 litre with the Ford Duratorque in it. I bought the car after, we can talk about that later, but we did have an accident, so it's our second overland build. Unfortunately, in the last few years, the Land Rover Defender 130 is a beautiful overlanding vehicle, a classic and historic overlanding vehicle. I'd loved Land Rovers ever since I was a little kid. I would have loved to have one as my first car in Australia, but they were just too expensive. So I never had the opportunity to own one until I decided to move to Europe, where the prices were a little bit more reasonable at the time. So I bought my first Land Rover Defender when we first moved to Europe, and then that was a Land Rover 90, the short wheelbase version. Then we decided we were spending so much time on the road, we wanted to do the overland thing full time. So the next thing was to look at a bigger Land Rover Defender. I wouldn't have chosen any other car. Yeah, so we bought this most recent one in Germany. The car was in very, I'm not even going to say average, it was in terrible condition. We bought it sort of reasonably priced, I guess, because they had stopped making the Land Rover Defender when we were searching for this car. So prices were starting to come up, and it was very difficult to try and find a decent Land Rover Defender, especially the 130, which is, I guess, one of the rarer of the three models. So we bought it in Germany. We managed to drive it all the way about 1,000 kilometers back to the south of France. It broke down once on the drive down there. The clutch went on it, and we had a few other issues. Luckily got it down there, where we were very lucky enough to have access to our good friends at Newman 4x4 in the south of France. Now, these guys are Land Rover fanatics. They rebuild, they do series, they do everything down there. We actually lived in their garage in our camper while we rebuilt this car from the chassis up pretty much. We stripped it all the way back. Yeah, it was a huge job, but a great experience too, because we learned a lot about this car. We got to be there with the guys, you know, they taught us so much, and yeah, we've done a lot of work to this car. I think that I got it pretty well spot on this time, because we learned a lot, because we just unfortunately rebuilt one only a year before that as well.
That's great. And then Steph, you want to give us some details on the camper?
Yeah, so the camper is proudly made in America.
Awesome.
In California. It was imported by a German company. The make is four-wheel camper, and the model is Grizzly. We bought it 2 years ago, and we bought it second-hand. And it was custom made for a Defender previously, Defender 130 also. It's been modified. The camper have been lifted, and that gave us an extra 3 massive storage. One being a drawer that is the full size of the camper. It's a pop top. It's really good for the height, and we can fit in a container. So that's a big point for us. Lightweight also.
And are you pretty happy with the space that it gives you?
It's huge. I mean, it's a real living space. If it's raining or if it's really cold, we are inside. I can be standing up, cooking. Leigh can be reading his Kindle in the bed. And another very good point of that Grizzly model, if it's really windy, for example, or like a big storm, we can keep the camper closed and we can actually sleep down the bottom without having to lift up the camper.
Okay, very good. And for our listeners that may not be familiar, to put those pieces together, you've got Grizzly and Bear.
We certainly do. Grizzly is the model of the camper. The camper had big Grizzly painted on the side of it. So like, yeah, that's cool. We're sitting there trying to think of a name, for our little tour around the world. Actually, it happened that I bought a front bumper or a bull bar for the previous Defender, the one that was in the accident. And that came and it was called Wild Bear. So on the bull bar, it had Wild Bear in massive letters across the front of this thing. And then I've always been a huge fan of Bear Grylls, that British adventurer. So we sort of like, okay, it says Bear there. There's Grizzly on the back. Let's just throw Grizzly and Bear together.
So can you give us some details on your cooking setup and any recommendations for our listeners putting their kitchen setup together?
The camper has a double burner. It runs on propane. We also carry a jet boil. It's to boil water really fast, with a little cartridge of gas. This one we use when we do overnight hikes. So you can just have some noodles and stuff easy to make when hiking, lightweight. Also to make coffee really fast and save us from buying coffees all the time. So on the road, it makes a little cuppa really fast. We do also have alcohol stove that was a gift, a really nice gift from a company in Spain called Eurocamper. We made a little video of their workshop, and to thank us, they sent us this alcohol stove. So that's a backup solution if we run out of gas or if anything happened. We have this alcohol burner. They use that on boats quite a lot, and you can find the alcohol pretty much everywhere in the world.
Runs on, I don't know what you guys call it. We call it methylated spirits or burning alcohol in Australia.
Yeah, just alcohol is what we go with. Have you had any issues or challenges finding propane, or has that been pretty easy for you?
It was easier than we thought it would be. Once again, with the people we've met on the road, they are always really helpful. The last one was to find an adapter.
I would say it hasn't been an issue. No, we've always thought it would be an issue, but it never has been. So far, touch wood, and we've only had to buy one adapter to convert from the sort of the Soviet connections at the moment, and you can just go into any service station or petrol station, and they'll fill it up for you at the Bowser there. So no, as so far, no issue.
And it's really cheap.
Last
time, I remember once we filled up in Armenia, I think it was about $2 maximum to fill up the full bottle.
Okay, great.
Oh, nice. What is that one thing you value the most, either on or in your vehicle?
Ooh.
I would say for me, it's the rock climbing equipment.
Yeah.
All of our mountaineering and rock climbing equipment would be, because for us, we love overlanding, we love living in our car, but rock climbing is our passion. That's what we travel for. That's what we love to do. So definitely the most valuable thing on board, I would have to say, is our climbing equipment.
And for me, it's all my electronic and videography. So my laptop, microphone, big camera, drone, etc.
The editing equipment.
everything you can make your YouTube channel with, right?
Yeah, that's right.
What is the most important for me? It's my laptop when I've got 2 or 3 movies that are nearly done editing. So that's about, 40, 50 hours worth of work. And I'm thinking, I hope nothing happened to the laptop.
Anything you originally packed that you never used or removed from your overall setup?
Oh, so much stuff.
Yeah.
Heaps. I think it's so important. What we do, we have a little thing that we do where every 3 to 6 months we put a big tarpaulin down on the ground. We empty the truck and the camper, and we look at everything and we decide what we need and what we don't. It's essential when you travel long term like this not to accumulate stuff, not to be materialistic, not to get attached to things that just are not getting used. So if we haven't used something for 3 months, 6 months, or we can't remember the last time we used it, then it's gone. We do have to get rid of it, and that's where we will pass things on as we travel through countries. I would say, just a quick answer to your question, the most recent thing we got rid of, which a lot of overlanders carry on their car, is an axe. We've found absolutely no use for a big axe. I do carry a small tomahawk style axe, and thanks to Stephanie's brother, he bought us a Barco bow saw, so like a wood saw. And I think if you're going to chop firewood, you've got a lot more use for a little lightweight saw and a mini axe than carrying around a huge axe with you. So that was one thing we didn't need, so we got rid of the axe a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, very good. If we could back up just a little bit, when you go to the editing, or not the editing, but you go to the video side, so you guys use a drone, any tips, any ideas? Like, what is your feedback on being able to cross borders and doing things? Is that something that you're having to stash somewhere? Or do you have any tips for our listeners to be able to legally go from country to country with a drone? Any issues there?
Yeah, for sure. We've got a tip. Do your research first, because we did have not a close call, but we went a little bit naively into Morocco 1.5 years ago. And I was only new to owning the drone. We took it down there. We never thought anything of it. I didn't try and hide it. I didn't stash it. We went into Morocco. We'd been using it. I'd never had any plans. We never flew it near any populations, near any cities, only for scenic shots out in the middle of nowhere. But I was flying it without even thinking. And then we actually joined a Land Rover convoy through the Sahara Desert with some British guys. And I just got the drone out, not thinking about it. And one of the older guys come up to me and he said, "Oh, I don't mean to spoil the party here, but you do know that those are illegal in Morocco." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, and we just drove through a military post." And I was like, "Whoa!" So that sort of, that really made me think about things a little bit. It's like, well, I probably should have done some research. So now we do the correct research, and yes, there are countries where they are technically illegal, or that you need a permit to fly them.
Let's say in Uzbekistan it is illegal, clearly, and then we passed it. We had it in the car, so that's the point. But we didn't fly the drone in Uzbekistan.
What we did, we said, okay, we'll put it in let's say a not so easy to spot location down the bottom of the underwear or something like that. And if they ask us if we have a drone, we won't lie. So we will say yes, because we did hear some horror stories of some people having to smash their drone at the Uzbek border in front of the guards, or nasty stuff, or pull it to pieces, or do different kinds of things. So we said, okay, we just won't say. And so we stashed it away, hid it, and we didn't get asked. When we left Uzbekistan, they searched through the car quite comprehensively, and we had stashed the drone again. This time we put it behind all the food in one of the kitchen storage cupboards. The guy searched he actually went inside the camper, which happens very rarely, and he looked in that cupboard, and our hearts were beating pretty fast at that time. He looked in there, and then he finished. He got out of the camper, and then he did ask the question, do you have a drone? So I did have to say no, because he had searched already in that location. So I did tell a little story then, and I was still a bit scared. I was like, all right, he's looked in there, now he's asking, we'll just say no. And he was cool, and we went on through.
Okay, very good. So what are your current top 2 or 3 destinations, along with a little detail in what made them so special for you?
I will start with my favorite country is Turkey, because we love all the countries we're going to, but Turkey really to me, it's got it all. It's got some really good rock climbing. The scenery is amazing. The people, the hospitality of the people is beyond anything that you can imagine. The food is really good too. It's got mountains, the beach, everything. I really, really love Turkey.
Yeah, I'd have to second that. I think we've been to Turkey 2 separate times on overlanding trips. We've driven there twice in 2 separate Land Rover Defenders, and both times I think it's left the biggest impact on us. And that's, I mean, we've traveled to over 50 countries for rock climbing, for tourism, for whatever. And I think Turkey is quite a way ahead of every other country we've traveled.
Morocco was also a fantastic experience in 4x4 part of it.
Yeah.
A bit of rock climbing too. But yeah.
It's hard to beat Turkey. For sure, it's hard to beat Turkey.
And I think Turkey is the one that I always go back to from your YouTube channel. Is that the one where you guys met for like a barbecue or a cookout with some local guys, and they were cooking all kinds of different foods? And,
that might be Armenia.
Oh, yes, sorry, that was Armenia. That was in Armenia.
We didn't stay as long in Armenia as we did in Turkey. I think we spent about 10 days. 2 weeks in Armenia,
like
but it was really intense with the people we've met. We've met some friends, David and Edward, and they were just like such amazing people. Like it instantly clicked. Like we
a
were
bond within. Well, you know that video you spoke about there, that barbecue. I mean, what we wanted to show was just the openness of the people we'd met, and we literally met them about 1 hour before we shared that barbecue with them, and we just felt like we were with long lost friends. They welcomed us so quickly and so openly into that country. It was really emotional and really, really special to experience something like that.
Yeah, that's great. So any tips that you guys have for purchasing fresh meats and vegetables from those smaller towns and villages that you go through?
We like to shop at locals market. Once again, in Turkey, I think that was my favorite market. Nothing says organic or, like it can be in in Europe, in America, in Australia, it's like all labeled organic. Over there, it doesn't exist, but I'm pretty sure everything is.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be. It's straight from the farm.
Yeah, it's a local, it's seasonal, it's fresh. So yeah, local markets. And for the meat, Leigh's more on.
But I would just say to people that are listening, be adventurous too. Don't sort of think, oh, we need to go to a supermarket or we need to find it needs to be wrapped in plastic. Just be adventurous, try something different, try things you've never seen before, try something you've never heard of before. That's what we do. And like just Steph just mentioned, we love to just stroll through these bazaars in these teeny little villages. And sometimes a lot of the times you have no option. So you have to, if you want to cook yourself and eat yourself, then you need to be getting it from the markets. But another thing, I guess it's not really food related, but we would like to stress as well that to please try our best to avoid the single-use plastics, because in these countries they will try to give you a million plastic bags, and we like to. It's actually quite humorous sometimes because Stephanie carries a big bag of little cotton sacks with her that she puts all of the individual fruit and veg into.
And they don't understand why we don't want plastic.
Yeah, they can't.
It's a part of their hospitality. So if you buy a little tiny item, they want to give you a plastic bag, and it's like a service for them. And I say, no, I don't want it. I don't want it. And I give my cotton sack, and they put my cotton sack in a plastic bag.
No.
They almost get offended that you won't take their plastic bag. We're trying to say, no, we don't want plastic. It's okay. You keep it. Just if you can, avoid it.
That's a good tip. I love it.
What's a favorite meal or recipe you enjoy while traveling?
I've got a recipe that I like to cook because it's fast and it doesn't make too much dishes. So you get an onion, some olive oil, and some minced meat. Then some cabbage, finely sliced cabbage. And for the flavors, I put salt and pepper and cinnamon. Then I add some sultanas and almonds for the crunchy bits. So all in one pot, and that's cooked really fast. It's a easy go-to recipe.
And it's delicious. I can vouch for that.
That's awesome. I can just see you in the camper and she starts cooking that and you can smell that, all that ingredients coming together. That's
for sure. That's when Steffi's a fantastic cook.
Oh, come on.
That's just one of the many, many amazing dishes she whips up. But another easy one. We've just come across for breakfast, normally in the winter, we'll eat porridge. We just have porridge with water, maybe some chopped banana in the porridge or some raisins, sultanas. Lately we've been just buying wraps and putting lavash, it's called,
in Armenia. It's a really flat bread.
Beautiful breads, and just putting a banana inside, and you guys I think call it peanut butter and jelly. Some peanut butter and jelly, a banana, wrap it up.
Yeah, so you got to have peanut butter.
Yeah, there you go. Roll it up.
Breakfast on the go.
And that's breakfast without any mess. And if you're in a hurry to get moving or whatever, and it's, it's half decent, I guess.
Another tip I've got, I carry a mandolin, like those Japanese mandolin. So you can slice, or you can, really easy to make coleslaw or just grate carrots. That's a good one to carry. It doesn't take much room, but then I can make some delicious salads. We have to be careful not to cut the fingers because it's really sharp.
Ooh, yeah, no fingers in the salad.
No.
And if you're remote and if you can slice a finger, sometimes it can be a bit complicated.
With a mandolin or an axe.
Yeah, or an axe.
Yeah.
Especially the axe.
I recently did a thumb with the axe, unfortunately. So
was that why the axe got the axe?
No, it was actually the big axe got the axe, but it was actually my small axe, the one that I need to keep.
Small one.
That was just completely irresponsible behavior on my behalf. We're in the middle of nowhere in Kazakhstan. I had some nice heavy-duty impact-resistant safety gloves just sitting on the floor in my car. Wasn't using them at the time. Went straight through the wood and into my thumb. And yeah, it was bad, but not as bad as it could have been. Learned a valuable life lesson that I should have already known anyway.
How do you generally do your laundry on the road?
I do it all.
She does.
I've got a really big bucket. It's a heavy duty bucket. It takes quite a bit of room, but we get a really good use out of it. Yeah, it's heavy duty bucket, and I get some water wherever I can, and I hand wash it all. Let's say if I do it by the river, I will use organic soap, and then I will discard the water away from the river, obviously. But I really like it. I just hand wash and rinse, and got a really, really good little tool that is a clothesline that is elastic and pegless. So it's like two elastic that are rolled together with two hooks. Yeah.
Two bits of elastic twisted together, and you can just push the clothing through the two elastic pieces, and it's awesome.
Brilliant.
It's great for the socks.
It's fantastic.
So I don't have pegs anymore. Just have this line, and for the t-shirt, I've got really small coat hangers. So then we don't need to iron also, because then it dries quite neatly.
Yeah, we're not too worried about ironing. And if we do need to do, like, for example, bedding and stuff like that, we're in and out of cities or towns, you can always find a laundromat. If we've got to do a big load of washing or the bedding, everything.
Or the towels.
Yeah, towels and stuff. Then, we'll go out of the way to try and find a laundromat. Sometimes it's pretty tough to find one, but you can always find one. Yeah, another challenge.
It's a mission for the day. Let's say we have to find a
And sometimes it can be a full day mission.
Yeah, it has been sometimes. Yeah, when all the clothes are clean, I feel really good.
And on hygiene, do you have a shower and toilet setup, or what's your recommendation for keeping it simple and hygienic on the road?
So we do have an outside shower in the camper. We're lucky. We have 80 liters?
Yeah, 80-litre water tank.
80-liter water tank that we use for the dishes and the shower. We can have hot water, but it's really hard to adjust. So we would lose too much water, try to adjust. So we just have cold shower on the outside. Once again, using my big bucket, the same one that I use for the laundry, we step on that. Just quickly put some water over yourself and then a soap. And I use like a glove. I don't know. I think what do you call it?
Exfoliating glove.
Yes. So that's quite good. And then we rinse. I think with 1 liter, we can have a shower.
Yeah. Hygiene is extremely important, and we know how important it is. But you can also control your water usage and still stay completely hygienic. We don't have a toilet on board. So what we do is either go outdoors, use a shovel, and do the right thing, away from any water sources, all that sort of thing. Or in and out of, when you're in towns or whatever, if you can hold on, use the toilet there.
A hole.
Or a hole, yeah.
And then anything you change about your current setup?
Yeah, I would like to, if we could. It's quite expensive to do, but we did talk about it earlier. You talked about gas, and I would love it to eventually, and actually I'm already getting prices. I'm thinking about doing it when we ship our setup from Japan to Canada next year. We would like to convert to diesel. So I would love to have diesel cooking, diesel heating, and diesel hot water, because then it just takes away all, not that we've had any dramas doing it, but then that way the car's running on the same thing. We have an auxiliary tank. We're never going to run out of diesel, so it would be ideal. That would be one thing I would love to convert the camper to.
And apparently the heater doesn't produce condensation.
Yeah, that would be nice.
It's hard to believe, but
yeah,
we've been told.
Oh, so when you have a diesel heater, then the condensation does not become an issue?
Apparently not. Yeah,
I can't believe it yet.
For us during the winter, it was a constant battle with condensation. And it's something we've never been able to solve. I've done so much research. I've asked so many questions on different forums through the internet, and no one seems to have an answer. And the only thing that a lot of people said about a diesel heater was that it produces less, because the gas burning on a propane heater that we have at the moment produces moisture as well as your body heat. And
yeah, that's great. So tell us about that number one biggest challenge you've had to overcome on the road.
Well, for me, it's without a doubt the accident. It was happened in Portugal the end of 2018.
December 2017.
17 already. Yeah, 2017.
1.5 years ago about.
Yeah. It was a disaster. I mean, we appreciate now how very, very lucky that we escaped the accident without serious injury, and the driver of the truck who hit us, he had minor injuries as well. We were driving, we'd just been off-roading actually in Portugal for the morning. We went out onto the main road only to get some diesel, and then we were looking for our exit again to get back into the forest to go off-roading. A speeding truck came around a blind corner, lost control, and hit us head on. That accident destroyed our car. We were extremely lucky that the truck camper was removed at the time. That was back at the campsite. So the camper that we were living in, that wasn't damaged, but the car was written off. And the next 6 months was a very stressful, emotional, and financially damaging, just everything. It was a nightmare. And I would say, yeah, without a doubt, the biggest challenge that we've had to overcome would be dealing with the aftermath of that accident.
Any tips you've got with a vehicle like that? I'm assuming the insurance from either the other fella or yourself took care of most of that. Any tips on insurance as you're going through different countries to make sure you've got that proper coverage?
We were very lucky because the vehicle at the time was under French insurance. Also, a lucky point was that we had the car for less than 3 years. If it would have been over 3 years, we would have get the money that the car is worth on the type of valuation, which would be not much at all. We got the insurance, we got what we paid for the car, but that didn't include any of the modification, which was a huge part, as you can imagine. So yes, we got back on the insurance what we paid for the car without all the modification. Then when we left the green card countries, so I think it's starting from Azerbaijan, if I remember well.
Even Armenia, I think.
Armenia wasn't on there, yes. Then you get a third-party liability insurance at the border, which is usually about $10 for the month. We are still looking for insurance that will cover us worldwide.
It's extremely difficult once you leave Western European countries or, I guess, Western countries in general to get a full comprehensive insurance. We, like Steph said, since we left, I think Turkey, we were covered, and then after we left Turkey, that was it. So we had no more coverage for fully comprehensive, which to me, after dealing with that accident, was quite important. We contacted and did so much research, and we did actually find a company who I'm still getting some quotes off at the moment. And I think they're Washington-based, actually, in America, and they're called Clements worldwide. And they're actually probably the only company I found that will do a fully comprehensive overlander type insurance for almost every country in the world. So we're going to, for anyone that's sort of looking into something like we're doing, then I would contact Clements Insurance, because it is possible. It's expensive, but if you've got a car that you value a lot, like for us, it's our home, so we sort of figure the cost after, especially because we've been in an accident, we know the importance of having a good insurance policy.
Insurance. I don't believe we've covered this before, at least with car insurance. We covered health insurance before. So be sure and let us know any insights that you might have, or if you'd like us to cover this topic in future episodes. I thought it was super helpful, and I think that the information that Leigh gave regarding Clements Worldwide was right on point. And he's got the experience from totaling one of their Land Rovers to now wanting to cover this other one, to be able to speak with
confidence,
with good experience. Equally, we'd love to hear your thoughts, tips, questions on filming with a drone and the challenges of border crossings with a drone. So if you have some experience there, write in, let us know, hit us up on the DM, send us an email, go to the webpage. All that information to connect with us is super easy and right there for you. And I don't think I've ever gotten so jazzed about a clothesline, Lisa.
No, you haven't.
That was amazing. Have you heard of that before?
No. Nope.
So all the links and everything to everything that they talked about is already on the show notes. So run yourself on over there. Really good information. So, Lisa, what do you think? Was that a great time talking with Leigh and Steph? We've been watching their YouTube videos for quite some time. It was a little bit surreal to get them on the phone, so to speak, electronic phone on the computer, and chat with them.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
It's
super nice, super friendly, full of information, full of great stories.
Our interview with Leigh and Steph is our longer format interview. So we split these into 2 episodes for your downloading pleasure. Don't worry, new episodes are released each Thursday.
In next week's episode, we go into border crossings, learn about a little bump in their travel plans, and they get arrested.
Arrested?
And a lot more.
Whoa. Remember, it's a good idea to visit the show notes page on our website at GHToverland.com/podcasts. Select Grizzly and Bear episode. All the details and helpful links are already there for you.
That is correct. And as previously mentioned, be sure to send your questions, suggestions, feedback to GHT Overland Podcast at gmail.com. We'd love it if you'd connect with us on social media at GHT Overland. Be sure and share this episode with your friends who enjoy travel off the beaten path.
If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to us if you did 2 things to help out. Rate and review the podcast, that's 1, and subscribe, giving the GHT Overland Podcast a little extra love on your podcast platform of choice. Thank you, and we will see you next Thursday for part 2 of the GHT Overland Podcast with Grizzly and Bear. Bye!